Greetings, friends. It may have been a while since you've seen me in the flesh, maybe since my last collection video, but today I am appearing before you to talk about my New York City trip from last week. This was Wednesday, June 16th, 2021, and Thursday, June 17th, 2021. It's really the Thursday where everything happened. I also was there on Friday, but I just came home Friday, so there's nothing to tell. There's really nothing to tell about Friday. So first I'll say there were three possible events during this trip. Two of them on Thursday were pretty much guaranteed, and then one on Wednesday that was up in the air. And the one on Wednesday was the Jimmy Fallon taping. Now, that's a complicated mess. So we were trying for standby tickets. The way standby works is that you show up. Initially, the initial standby line is a first come, first serve kind of thing. So you show up and wait for a ticket, a standby card. For Fallon, they start handing them out at 10 a.m. And once you get your card, it's a numbered card. So the number that's on your card relates to the number you are in line. So that in that way, it's first come, first serve. Then on the ticket also has a time for you to return. So you get the card and then you go do whatever and then come back and wait to see if you'll get into the taping or not. When you come back, they line you up based on the number on the card. So then it doesn't matter if someone else is there before you. If you were first in line for the card, your card says 1, you're first in line. But standby is not a guarantee, even if you are the first in line. What happens is you get lined up and then, as people with real tickets start filing into the taping, if they see that there are seats that need to be filled, they'll start pulling from the standby line. Well, we weren't even sure that Coldplay were going to be there because it seemed like maybe they had pre-taped, and we know now that they did pre-tape their performance the night before on a rooftop out in the city. What happened is in the standby line, someone came down and actually told us anyway, Coldplay's not in the building, and said, if that's a deal breaker, you can leave. No one left, actually. But then, of course, they only ended up taking 2 people from the standby line. So I was there with Haley St. James, and we were both, Haley was 8th in line and I was 9th in line. We actually got bumped up 2 spots technically because 2 of the people who were ahead of us showed up too late to check into the standby, but it didn't ultimately matter anyway. So then we just kind of had to figure out what to do. I mean, that was most of the day anyway, just wandering around. We got some food. We went to the Nintendo store. After we got dissed for standby, we went to Dwayne Reed to buy some poster supplies. We went to Barnes & Noble, and we ended up at Starbucks for a little while where they were playing Him for the Weekend at one point. I think it was the remix of it. If I remember correctly, it was the remix, but that was a lot of fun. And then we left Starbucks, it was probably around 8 p.m. Wednesday night, and we foolishly waited outside 35 West 48th Street, I think, one of the Rockefeller buildings. That's where we were supposed to wait for the Today Show, and we started waiting there 8 p.m. bright and early. The sun hadn't even gone down yet. There was no need for us to be there that early. No one else showed up until just after midnight. We didn't know if it was going to be a first come, first serve as far as where to stand in the audience, because everyone who was showing up, it wasn't a general audience. Everyone who was showing up was already approved for fan passes, and we had group numbers, but we didn't know if the group numbers really meant anything beyond just organizing and keeping track of people. Well, it turned out that it was a first come, first serve, so it's a good thing we got there first. And we were able to get a really good spot up at the barrier. There were some VIP people in front of us, essentially 2 rows. But I'm not so upset about that because ultimately the way I look at this, both the Today Show taping and the Macy's taping, is that they are TV shows. They're not Coldplay concerts. Even though we were there for Coldplay and to watch Coldplay perform, these are still TV shows. It is what it is. So yeah, Haley and I waited outside for a very long time. The other thing was that we didn't really have anything better to do, and I didn't really want to leave and then have to come back on my own in the middle of the night. So I thought we were already in the plaza. We may as well just spend the whole night there. Did not get much sleep. I took maybe a few power naps throughout the night, but it was worth it in the end. Eventually more people started to show up, and these were some people who we had met earlier in the day, people who had waited for Fallon's standby, people who we also knew online for like years, and the rest of our pod, because we were all in groups of 4. And eventually, I'd say it was around 1:30 a.m., they moved our line a little bit closer to the plaza itself. And from there, we were all just standing and waiting for many hours. More people started to show up. Around 5:30 is when they started checking people in. So we, went up, got our names checked off, went through security, and then we were there. And then it was just waiting. The band didn't fully come out until just after 8. Johnny, Will, and Guy had come out before that and done a little bit of a sound check. Chris didn't come out until the 8 o'clock time. And they did like short rehearsal of each song before they actually went live playing the songs. So the first song was Clocks, and the second song was Higher Power. They're both awesome performances. It was just really incredible to be in the presence of the boys again. And I seem to have decent luck with like getting to watch them close up, which is great for me. So we were pretty close to the stage, right? We were right up against the barrier for the fan audience anyway. At the end of Higher Power, it was so funny because the streamers went out, the confetti streamers, and it was so cool. And then the song ended. And then I was like, oh my God, Will completely covered in streamers, and there were so many of them on top of him. Like, he was trapped in there, and I saw it and I was like, no one's helping him. I don't know, at that point, I don't know if how many other people even noticed that he was stuck in there. I saw it pretty quickly. Then I did see Guy taking his pictures. That as soon as I saw that Will was trapped, I was like, I gotta take a video of this. And it took me too long to open up my camera app. But then Guy was over there taking his pictures. At that point, Will had gotten out a little bit, just his head. But it was so funny. I was like, how come no one's helping Will? He's trapped by the streamers. No one thought about that. And then there was a lot of excitement happening. There was already a lot of excitement happening. But the crowd started chanting, one more song, one more song, one more song, over and over again. Then I tried to get a Viva chant going also, which I think it worked a little bit after a while. And we were like, are they going to play? Are they going to play? It seemed like it was working. And guess what? It worked. It worked. They stuck around for one more song, which ended up being A Sky Full of Stars. And that moment, that performance is, well, I said to Haley after, it was like in the South Bank show episode when they're backstage at the War Child, I think, gig, and Gary Barlow was back there with them and they were singing Back for Good. And then at the end of it, Chris goes, oh, it's one of the moments of history of my life, which I love when he says that. But that's how I felt after A Sky Full of Stars, because it wasn't even because of the band, but just the energy of us, the fans, and like, I don't know, I think I felt this from other people, maybe it was just me, but there was so much excitement. And I think what helped too is the fact that like many of the people who were there in the front row, and even some of the people a row or two behind me, like, I know these people and I've known these people for at least some of them for a while, and I could just feel it. And so for me, like, that is definitely like the most amazing Coldplay related moment I've ever experienced. Different from any kind of interaction I've had with the band or being able to see them like front row and stuff like that. I don't know. This was just such a different experience. So at the very least, the greatest Coldplayer moment of my life was that performance, at least so far. Yeah, it was amazing. So then after that, they were done. Like Chris left the stage pretty quick after they finished the song. And some of us stuck around. I was like, guys, there's confetti here. We have to get some of this. Kind of got one of the security people to very reluctantly hand us some confetti, but then ultimately we like just walked around the other side of the plaza later, and there was just a bunch there. They were cleaning it up and we were able to take it, so it was like really easy to get. Anyway, but we stayed there for a minute or so, and then, you know, some people were trying to like get Phil's attention. Well, Phil ended up walking over. I didn't talk to him myself. I just stood there while everyone else was talking to him, just because I didn't have anything prepared to say. And personally, I was feeling a little overwhelmed by everyone else like talking to him and trying to get him to sign things. So I was like, I'm not going to contribute to that. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I don't want to be the person who overwhelms Phil. So I just settled for taking secretly taking a selfie while he was talking to someone else. And that's good enough for me. I think if I ever fully meet the band, I would need to do it in a one-on-one setting so that it's not intimidating for me to have so many other people clamoring. Then we left the plaza. Well, a couple of people were trying to see if, is the band coming out somewhere? I figured by that point that they were long gone, and I think they were. Phil passed by us again as we were waiting in this one area. But what the coolest thing that happened, I get more excited about this than I think even some people got about meeting Phil. But the roadies were packing up. Eventually they started to leave as well, and they were walking by where we were. I'm pretty sure I did see Hoppy walk by. He was with another roadie who I don't know their name, because so the roadies have these like black jumpsuits that have Chaotic In on the chest. That's just their name, and then their name's written out as well. And then on the back, I assume it has the Coldplay in Chaotic In. That roadie's shirt only said crew, so I don't know what their name is. They were walking by. They were just walking pretty fast, so I didn't want to disrupt them or anything. But then later, I noticed someone else walking out from the plaza, which was Matt McGinn. Yeah, very, very cool. He's easy to recognize for me, at least. And he was walking, and he started coming toward us. Again, I wasn't gonna say anything. I wasn't gonna stop him, because they're busy people. I'm sure they just worked a whole bunch. And there was another event later that night, so yeah, I don't want to be bothering people. But I did bother him because this seemed like fate. At some point, these 3 horse cops had shown up. Not horses who are cops, although I guess they kind of are too by association, but cops on horses. And they were stopped not too far down from where we were on the road. And as Matt was walking toward us, he stopped. And I saw him, I assume, asking the cops if he could take a picture of them. So I thought that was funny. And then, he kept walking by. Then he stopped again, and he was on his phone. He was looking at his phone. But where he stopped was right in front of me, pretty much where my camera is right now that I'm talking into, that was where he stopped. I was like, he's the one who stopped walking now. And he's just standing there on his phone. And the seconds kept going by. I was like, I have to do this. So I was like, excuse me, are you Matt? And it was funny because he said, no. And then he was like, yes, what do you want? So I just wanted a picture. I told him that. I was like, can I just get a picture with you? And then I told him he was awesome and does incredible work, and asked him to thank the boys for playing one more song for us. And then, you know, I told him that like a lot of us were going to the fireworks taping that night as well. And he said something about, you know, the usual like, we never know if anyone's gonna come out and see us. And I was like, duh, of course we will. I've been on the sidewalk since 8 p.m. Coldplay has very dedicated fans. But that was such a cool moment that I got to meet Matt again. Oh my God, amazing. And like, no, in the group of Coldplayers, no, I won't name you, but you know who you are. None of them knew who he was. I had to explain who he was. I love seeing the roadies. That's one of my favorite things because they do so much of the work too. They're very central to the band that we love as well. So that was a lot of excitement. After that, I went and crashed at my friend's place. I took a nap, but I didn't even sleep that long. I didn't get a lot of sleep those couple days. No. Then eventually it was time to meet up with Haley again and go to the fireworks taping. For the fireworks taping, it was 2-person groups instead of 4. So it was just me and Haley, but we did get to meet up with some of the people who were at the Today Show as well. And that was a weird experience because it's like we showed up at this park where the filming was, but there was no clear indication of where the line was supposed to be. The line that happened was kind of in a different place from where the website said it would be. And then the line, a lot of people had lined up by the time we found it. They were lining up early, which the website said not to do. It was a whole process. But eventually we got in the line. And then we were just standing there talking. And then all of a sudden, this group of people walked by. It was just a regular walkway, and with a barrier in the middle. So we were kind of to the right of the barrier, the line, and then to the left was just the rest of the open walkway. Well, all of a sudden, these men walk by, and we're like, this is the band. So the band walked by us. Amazing, while we were in line. Crazy. And then they did their sound check. So we knew like they walked by us going in. They're going to walk by us going back. And one of the One Iota staff took a video of it like right in front of us. So sure you've seen that. Some people have shared their high fives they got with Chris. Unfortunately, everyone else pushed up to the barrier when they were walking by, and I couldn't get to it, so I was further away than I was the first time that they walked by. But that's a story of my life, I guess. That's why I also didn't get to talk to Phil. But it's all good. We were still in the same places. That was crazy. And then at one point, the same guy came back and he was picking people out of the line. I'm guessing looking for people who were both or either short and dressed very festively, right? Because this is for 4th of July. He like came up, he saw Haley's shirt, saw my shirt, and was not as impressed. And he was like, I'm gonna think about it and walk back. Grabbed some more people. He did end up taking Haley and myself. So we ended up being like pretty close to the stage. We were essentially like 3 rows back, and we were right in front of the Viva Bell. So we saw the bell, so we knew they were actually going to play Viva La Vida, which was very exciting. I think ultimately the rest of the people who we were waiting in line with they were pretty close by the time that they got into the crowd. So it was kind of, they had an area sectioned off in front of the stage, which was for the people who had tickets. And then the rest of the park was kind of just open for people to come in and hang out and watch. So there were a lot of people who were there in the end. But right in front of the stage was us. Very cool, very exciting. And they came out. This was a taping for their special. So we actually did some audience taping beforehand that was not just the Coldplay, but also One Republic. So I think ultimately, before and after the gig, we ended up doing 2 different One Republic songs, I think. But I can't really remember that well. But they want crowd shots, right? And so we were kind of acting as the audience for One Republic as well. The way it happened, Coldplay came out and they performed 2 songs for the special itself. Viva La Vida was the first one. So although the intention was to play it twice, they actually ended up only playing it once, and I guess we were a good enough audience that was it for Viva La Vida. Then they played, in between the songs that were being taped for the special, Yellow, Clocks, and A Sky Full of Stars, just for us. Although the camera operators were still moving around. So I guess they still recorded that footage anyway. But Viva La Vida was the first song being taped for the special. And then after those 3 songs, then they played Higher Power and ran through that twice. Actually ran through it 3 times. What happened is that the band performed it the first time and it was just plain, just the band performing and, you know, their usual lights and stuff. And us, the audience, having a ball. Then the second time the band ran through it was with the fireworks. So presumably that's what you'll see in the actual special when it airs. Then they left and the audience had to do it. We ran through the song again using the last take from the band. So they played that back, but it was just the audience. The band had already gone. And then I think that's when we did another One Republic song. I don't know. By that point, I was very tired. And I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to sleep. I was like, we're not seeing Coldplay anymore. I'm done. I'm done with this trip. Yeah, that was pretty much it. And we went home. I went back to my friend's place, slept, and then came home the next day and then slept like all afternoon that Friday. So that's a wild ride. It's weird to think that so much of it happened in one day. But even though it was super cool to see the band again, and you know, they made a big deal about these being the first crowds back, both for the Today Show and for the Macy's event, for just One Iota events in general, that before these performances, they'd just been doing virtual. So it was having everyone back in person and maskless, because for all of the events that we went to required vaccination. And so we had to have our vaccine cards there, show them with ID and everything in order to get in. So we were allowed to be maskless. And obviously, it's been a little while since we've seen the band. I was fortunate enough to see them perform on Saturday Night Live, although I had an obstructed view, so I didn't really see them perform so much as I heard it, and was just living in the same room as them. And before that, I hadn't seen them since 2017 in San Diego. So yeah, that was exciting, but honestly, to me, one of the most fun parts of this trip was getting to hang out with other Coldplay fans and having this experience with them. And not just, you know, it's really cool to go to a Coldplay concert and see tens of thousands of people who are also there specifically to see Coldplay. That's always a really fun time. But this was totally different because it was people who I knew online for years. And finally getting to meet them in person for the first time, or seeing them again, it was just incredible. And to see them for multiple events in one day, it was very exciting. That's why I think we should have a Coldplayer conference. Just saying, it could be very cool. Forget the band. I mean, if the band was there, that'd be awesome. But even if we could just have all of us hanging out somewhere and just like doing watch parties, listening parties, talking about Coldplay. I think for me, that would be fun enough to warrant doing something like that, with or without the band. Maybe I should look up what it takes to run a conference. Probably too much. Probably too much. But so yeah, that's pretty much it for what I have to say about this. It was a really fun experience for everyone who I hung out with, for everyone who I met in person for the first time, and everyone who I met for the first time, period, or saw again. It was so great to meet all of you. And I hope that we can see each other again in some kind of Coldplay related context. I guess it doesn't have to be Coldplay related context. Even if we can just hang out, we'll end up talking about Coldplay. If you ever have the opportunity to do something like this, go for it. I know I sound probably like a lunatic because I spent all night outside of New York City once again, and I didn't even have a camping chair this time, but it was so worth it, I'm telling you. And especially now, the band's not getting any younger, guys. So if you have an opportunity, take it. Take it. That's my advice. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I'm still working on my video about the Milo Xyloto comics, so that will probably be the next thing that you see from me, which is Coldplay related. If you are really excited about that video, please, one, subscribe to my channel so when it comes out, you'll know. You can also follow me on Twitter at In a Wooden House. And again, you'll be able to know when the video comes out. But if you're really, really excited about it, go to Twitter and at me and tell me to finish the freaking video. That'll be my motivation. But thank you for watching this at least. And I will see you next time. Peace out. Chris, nope, not Chris. Everyone but Chris.